Mr. Alterowitz, another of your priority AI cases is applying machine learning to patients' genetic and phenotypic information to predict and optimize surgery outcomes. That's how their genes affect the response to medication and their observable physical traits. What ethical challenges do you think that could pose? For example, if AI says don't do the surgery based on a veteran's genes, what's the surgeon's responsibility? And again, is that patient advised of who generated this prognosis, man or machine?
Right. Yeah, thank you for your question. I think there are a number of use cases that we're evaluating at different stages, and that's one of the key things that we're looking at, trustworthy AI at the beginning. And there's a number of principles there, and a number of the areas you mentioned are ones that we would look at. And so, a few that come to mind, as you said, the genetics, you can have different demographics. You may have to look at different single nucleotide polymorphisms, basically different parts of the genetics may be applicable. How do you quantify their surgical outcomes in different settings, rural, non-rural? I mean, there are a lot of questions like that. And so when they are research projects, there's more time to engage and to do that. And then in other projects, if we don't find it consistent, there's time to make a consistency plan where we kind of keep going back and getting more questions answered, maybe analyzing some of that data.
Mr. Alterowitz,
yes.
Look, I understand additional information is good. We have all of that data coming in, but again, the first thing that I go back to is, shouldn't this be disclosed to the veterans? Shouldn't this be disclosed to the patients, that they understand exactly who is performing this analysis and creating this prognosis?
Right. Well, for research studies, we do have informed consent through, IRBs. Through non-research, we've developed and are piloting something called a model card, which basically is like a pamphlet that explains how the AI is being used for different settings. So one setting may be for the patient, another setting may be for the doctor who is interested in other parts of how the AI works. So model cards are a way that we are now pioneering, and we're not the only ones pioneering this, but we're really looking at it in the healthcare setting and piloting to see how that works across the network.
Okay, Mr. Arterowitz, here's another example. You're using natural language processing to extract signals of suicide risk from clinical progress notes and other medical records. We need to do whatever we can to prevent veteran suicide. We know that I've heard everything from 19 veterans a day to as high as 24. But we need to be extremely careful. First of all, how prone to false positives is the software, and what level of accuracy do you consider acceptable? I'm concerned that this could lead to a violation of veterans' rights, limiting personal freedoms and gun ownership.
Yeah, thank you for your question. I think everything that you've said are concerns that need to be looked at. So where this uses AI is in the natural language processing, right? Looking at those notes and extracting potential meaning out of it. There's always a human in the loop that then looks at the results. And so this is a way to help them shift through a large amount of text. And
there's a human reviewing that, but there's also a human who's creating those notes. Correct. So we have a very subjective component that is part of this analysis that we have to be very, very careful of. So do the veterans know that the VA is using this technology? And if so, could it taint what they're willing to tell their healthcare providers?
For ones that are involved in research, there's a consent form and then they would be aware. For ones in operations, generally there are tools used that have been publicized on our website through the inventory that explain how they use AI.
Okay, so we still don't have a good, consistent disclosure process that is being utilized and being signed off by our veterans, correct? Across the system.
That is correct. I do not.
Okay. Again, please, that has got to be elevated to a top priority. It absolutely has to be elevated to a top priority.